We don't go nowhere without a machete.
I'll just be over here eating
All
donuts.
right. Whoa. Here we go. Frosty the Snowman. It all started with the snow, the first snow of the season. As every child knows, there's a certain magic to the very first snow. And when it falls on the day before Christmas, something wonderful is about to happen. Children, back to your seats, called the teacher. The snow can wait. I've hired Professor Hinkle, the magician, to entertain us for our Christmas party. Unfortunately, Professor Hinkle was just about the worst magician in the world. And so I put the egg into the magic hat, said Professor Hinkle. Abracadabra and voila! The egg has turned into a mess. Where's my rabbit, Hocus Pocus? Where are you? He didn't know. His rabbit, Hocus Pocus, was hiding in the hat. The only thing this hat is good for is the trash can, said Professor Hinkle. But the hat didn't stay in the trash can for long. The hat with Hocus Pocus underneath hopped out the door. That was when the bell rang. For a whole Christmas holiday. Hey, look at the snow, cried the children as they ran outside. They worked together to build the first snowman of the season. Once the children had given him eyes and a nose and a mouth, it was time to name him. How about Frosty? Asked Karen. Frosty the Snowman. The children danced around Frosty as they sang about his button nose and his eyes made of coal. Come back here, you, cried Professor Hinkle, chasing Hocus Pocus. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew the hat onto Frosty's head. Happy birthday, said the snowman. Karen grasped and said, that hat brought Frosty to life. It must be magic. When Professor Hinkle heard that, he wanted the hat back. But it's not yours anymore, protested Karen. This hat will make me a millionaire, said the greedy magician, taking the hat back. Hocus Pocus felt that the hat really did belong to Frosty, so he hopped back to Frosty. The children, as fast as he could, to return the magic hat. Happy birthday, said Frosty again, as soon as the hat was placed on his head. Hey, I said my first word. I'm alive. What a neat thing to happen to a nice guy like me. The magic hat made Frosty dance around. The children cheered as Frosty began to laugh and play with them. They had never been such a wonderful winter day. When the sun peeked out from behind the clouds, Frosty explained, "Oh, I'm all wishy-washy. I'm starting to melt." The children knew they needed to take Frosty someplace where he'd never melt, like the chilly North Pole. They decided to go to the railroad station and find a train for Frosty. "Let's have a parade through the town," shouted Frosty. "Come on, kids, follow the leader." I'm the leader. Okay, where's the Grinch? All too soon, it was time for the train and Frosty to leave. I'll go with you, Frosty, said Karen. I'm sure I'll be back in time for supper. Karen, Frosty, and Hocus Pocus jumped onto the refrigerator car on the freight train headed north. No one saw Professor Hinkle under the train car and holding on. A refrigerator boxcar is a splendid way to travel. Splendid, that is, for a snowman or a furry-coated rabbit, but for a little girl, Karen, it was just too cold. So when the freight train made a stop, Frosty got them all off. And no one saw Professor Hinkle jump off. Frosty took Karen and Hocus Pocus to a wooden glen where they found animals decorating the trees for the big celebration. They knew Santa Claus was coming that night. After Hocus Pocus spoke to the animals, they agreed to build a campfire to keep Karen warm. But it didn't take long for Professor Hinkle to catch up with the friends. Get on my shoulders, Karen, cried Frosty. Frosty, since he was made of snow, was the fastest belly whomper in the world. Soon, he and Karen were sliding down the hill, leaving the greedy Professor Hinkle far behind. At the bottom of the hill was a tiny greenhouse for growing tropical poinsettias for Christmas. It was the perfect place for Karen to stay warm. Frosty, you'll melt in here, warned Karen. I'll only stay inside a minute, Frosty assured her, but the nasty Professor Hinkle caught up with them. Once again, he locked the door, trapping them all inside. That night, Hocus Pocus led Santa Claus to the greenhouse to save Frosty, but then poor Frosty had melted completely. Don't cry, Karen, said Santa kindly. Frosty is not gone for good. You see, he was made out of Christmas snow. You can bet your boots that when a good jolly December wind kisses it, it'll burn into Christmas snow all over again. Just watch. It will turn into Christmas snow all over again. Santa opened the door, and when the wind whirled in and out, Frosty was back. Santa was about to place a magic hat on Frosty's head when Professor Hinkle shouted, "I want that hat, and I want it now." Santa replied, "If you touch that hat, I'll never bring you another Christmas present. Go home right now and write, 'I am very sorry for what I did to Frosty,' 100 zillion times. Then maybe, just maybe, you'll find something in your stocking tomorrow." Professor Hinkle was very sorry indeed. He ran. "Happy birthday!" Frosty shouted once more. Karen was happy to see her friend again, but now it was time to go home. Santa put Karen in his sleigh and promised her that he would take Frosty back to the North Pole with him. Karen hated to say goodbye to Frosty, but Santa said that Frosty could return every year with the magical Christmas snow. Frosty waved goodbye. As he hurried on his way, he shouted a promise to return the following Christmas, and every year he did just that. Merry Christmas!